Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling quite a fascinating request from a listener. We've got these sources from the spiritual teacher Osho.
Yes, and they're quite direct. Sources where he himself addresses the big questions people always had about him. Who are you? What's your method? And, maybe most importantly, why do you often seem so, well, contradictory?
Exactly. And our mission today really is to unpack this because the sources suggest that what looks like, chaos,
Like praising Buddha one day, then maybe criticizing religious institutions the next.
right, that it's not random at all.
No, the claim is there's a highly structured, almost scientific approach behind it all. It's rooted in needing to embrace paradox and also in tailoring the message very specifically.
Okay, let's just jump right in then because the very first claim in these materials is, wow, it's bold. He says he is not influenced by figures like Mahavira or Buddha or Christ, even though he talks about them constantly. So if he's not leaning on their authority, why bring them up?
Well, what he says is his teachings come purely from his own experience and knowledge. That's the bedrock.
Okay.
He stresses that he uses their names, these, historical figures, only because what he has known happens to tally with what they knew.
Ah, so they're not the source of his ideas.
No, they're just witnesses. That's the word he uses. Witnesses to the universality of that same core experience.
That's a really key distinction, isn't it? It stops the knowledge becoming just like history study.
Exactly. And it also sidesteps, maybe, a kind of ego trap.
How so?
Well, if you claim some huge religious insight, isn't there a danger of making it yours? Claiming ownership.
Yeah, reducing it somehow.
Right. Which is why he insists that no genuine religious experience can be claimed as mine only. He says the very moment you have it, that sense of mineness, the ego, it just dies.
Ah.
So the experience itself is automatically beyond any kind of personal claim. It's impersonal by nature.
So if the truth is impersonal, universal, this leads straight to that classic question, doesn't it? Is this truth ancient or is it brand new?
And this is where you really start to see the embrace of paradox. He says, flat out, it has to be both.
Both, simultaneously.
Yes. And the only way to capture the whole truth at once in its complete fullness, as he puts it, is to state both sides. So in one sense, yes, truth is ancient, eternal, everlasting. That never changes.
Okay, that's the old part. But where does the new come in?
The new is the freshness of experiencing it. For whoever has this insight dawn on them, right then it feels absolutely new, like it's happening for the first time.
Like hearing a piece of music for the first time, even if it's centuries old?
That's a great analogy.
Mm.
In that moment of hearing, it's completely virginal to you. So if you only say truth is eternal, you miss that immediacy, that freshness. But if you only say it's new, you miss the timeless foundation.
I see. It keeps it dynamic. Okay, this is crucial then for understanding his teaching method, because this idea, embracing contradiction, it leads straight into how he teaches. He claims any truth that looks perfectly neat, clear, unambiguous.
It's actually just a half-truth.
Right. Why is being perfectly consistent a problem?
Well, a half-truth can be perfectly consistent. Like, think about math or simple dogma. Only light is the truth.
Yeah.
Very consistent, very clear.
Incomplete.
Exactly. A total truth, he insists, must seem inconsistent because it has to include the other pole. His example is light and darkness.
Ah, yes.
If they were truly separate things, adding light wouldn't make darkness disappear, would it?
No, it wouldn't make sense.
But the fact they affect each other proves they're two ends of the same thing. Mutually exclusive, yet totally bound together.
So, try to have a truth that excludes darkness or paradox is fundamentally missing half the picture.
That's the argument.
But, okay, he still uses logic, right? Especially when talking to people who think logically. The sources mention logic is like a ladder. What does that mean if the ultimate goal is to show logic isn't enough?
It means it's a tool, a functional but temporary tool. You climb the ladder, yes, but once you're on the roof, you leave the ladder behind. You don't carry it around with you. So he uses reasoning, but only to guide the listener's thinking, right up to the point where logic itself breaks down, where it can't go any further.
He wants to lead you to the edge.
And then sort of nudge you off, demonstrating that relying only on reason is futile for the deepest understanding. He uses the tool to show you the tool's own limits.
That makes sense. And it immediately helps explain something that confuses many people. Why would he sometimes speak against masters like Mahavira or Buddha if he also says his experience lines up with theirs? Seems contradictory.
It does, but it comes down to another key distinction he makes. The light versus the lamp.
Light versus lamp.
Yeah. When he seems to be criticizing, say, Buddha, He's often trying to emphasize the eternal light, the actual truth, the experience over the lamp.
And the lamp is?
The lamp is the container. The historical person, the specific doctrine, the religious institution, the physical stuff that held the light at one time.
I get it. So if he sees someone getting too attached to the historical Buddha, the statue, the rules.
Precisely. If he senses a person is enamored of the lamp, as he puts it, clinging to the container, instead of seeking the actual content, the living light.
Then he'll deliberately speak against the lamp.
Yes, to shake them free. That inconsistency, that apparent contradiction, it's a specific teaching tool. It's designed to break that kind of intellectual attachment or hero worship.
Wow. Okay, so this means his statements aren't fixed doctrines. They're fundamentally conditional. They depend entirely on who's listening and where they are on their path.
Absolutely. For us, trying to understand this now, that's maybe the biggest challenge. His truth isn't static. It shifts based on the listener's needs and perspective.
It's not one size fits all.
Not at all. They're totally context dependent. He gives a clear example himself. If he's talking to you about your body,
Okay.
the statement will be death-oriented.
Oh.
Your body will decay, it will die. That's its nature.
Makes sense.
But if, in the next breath, he's talking about your soul, your consciousness,
Then the statement will be about immortality.
exactly, it will be immortal, unborn. Now, on the surface, those statements, you will die and you are immortal, are contradictory, right?
Completely.
But he says they do not negate each other because their dimensions are different. One refers to the physical dimension, the other to consciousness. They aren't actually in conflict once you see the context.
That need for context, for tailoring the truth, it leads perfectly into his choice of medium, doesn't it? Why he so strongly preferred speaking, live discourse over writing things down.
Oh, definitely. He pretty much dismisses writing, calls it absurd and useless at one point.
Why so strong?
He compares it to writing a letter but having no address. A written text is just sent out to the unknown crowd. It lacks that specific connection, that context.
Whereas the spoken word?
The spoken word for him is a hot medium because the whole communication channel is alive.
What makes it hot in his view?
The immediacy, the presence, the listener's right there. They see his eyes, his gestures, his expression. All that nonverbal stuff massively colors the meaning.
Yeah, you lose all of that nuance in print.
Totally lost. Just dead statements in black ink, he says. That live context tells you instantly which dimension he's addressing, body or soul, lamp or light.
And being in that live setting puts a huge weight on the listener too, right? You have to be fully present.
Absolutely. He says attention must be at a full peak, mandatory alertness.
Yeah.
Because what's spoken just disappears. It's lost in a bottomless abyss. You can't just rewind a live talk like you can reread a page.
Right.
And because it's spoken, addressed directly to you, he even says the listener is also responsible for how the statement comes out. If someone else, at a different stage, was sitting there instead,
The statement itself might have been different.
could have been completely different, tailored to them.
Which creates this amazing paradox about language itself. He's using words, these very context-dependent conditional words.
To try and take you beyond words.
Yeah, he has to keep using them, even while, as the source says, he has to go on shouting, "Do not cling to my words."
It's the inherent bind of communication, isn't it? You have to use the tools you have, even if the goal is to transcend those tools. The words are the raft to cross the river, but you don't carry the raft once you're on the other side.
Okay, let's pivot now to the final piece, which feels maybe the most methodical or scientific part of his teaching. It's how he structured his own journey, his own realization. He frames it as a phased experiment using the 3 gunas.
Yes. The 3 basic forces or qualities in Hindu philosophy. Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. It helps to quickly define them.
Okay.
Tamas is the base quality. Think inertia, inactivity, even indolence,
Hmm.
the foundation.
Got it.
Rajas is the middle. That's activity, energy, passion, movement, the dynamic force.
Right.
And Sattva is the peak, serenity, calmness, clarity, knowledge, the quality of light almost. Life is seen as an interplay of these 3.
And he says he approached these differently than others. He mentions Krishna used all 3 at once, making them hard to understand.
While figures like Buddha or Jesus tended to embody one predominant quality, like Sattva.
Yes, but OSHO describes deliberately moving through them sequentially. Why do that? Why actively embrace inertia, then intense activity, then serenity, one after the other?
He describes it as a deliberate, scientific experiment on himself. The idea was to allow the personality, the energies, to be total and unsuppressed, to experience each guna fully.
And burn through it.
Exactly, burn through each energy completely, quickly, but, and this is key, while maintaining detachment throughout, being the witness.
Okay, let's walk through the phases he describes. First was tamas, inactivity.
Right, his early life, he explicitly talks about making inactivity an experiment in meditation. Sleeping in class, apparently.
Huh.
Or spending hours just lying on his cot, vacantly watching the ceiling, he says, until his mind went totally quiet, thoughtless.
And the purpose of that wasn't just laziness.
No, the stated purpose was profound. To realize one can stay awake and aware even during sleep, to ensure consciousness wasn't lost even in deep inertia. He claims he only stopped when that force felt fully spent in him.
Okay, so from inactivity, he flips completely. Phase 2, rajas, intense activity.
Massive activity, traveling constantly, speaking fiercely, deliberately creating controversies, criticizing Gandhi, socialism, everything. It sounds exhausting just reading about it.
Why such intensity?
He said this whirlwind of activity wasn't driven by personal ambition or desire, but almost by fun and interest, like an actor playing a part intensely.
Okay.
The goal, he claimed, was to burn out that fire of rajas completely and quickly, to let that passion burn in full ferocity so that it can turn to ashes quickly rather than letting it just smolder unsatisfied throughout life.
So total stillness, then total movement. And that leads to phase 3, the sattva phase, serenity.
Yes, the later phase, described as a state of gradual withdrawal, where outward actions dissolve more into just silent awareness, calmness.
And the key through all 3, tamas, rajas, sattva, was what?
Remaining the witness, the observer. The core idea is that by staying detached, by knowing these forces are playing out but you are not the doer, the gunas naturally exhaust themselves.
And once they're all spent,
They lead, potentially, to a state beyond them, a transcendental existence, the 4th stage, beyond the play of these 3 qualities. This whole 3-phase process, this method, helps explain the dramatic shifts in his public persona and teachings over the years.
So when you put it all together, what does this mean for you, the listener, trying to understand this? We've seen the contradictions aren't just random, they seem to be part of a deliberate strategy.
A strategy reflecting both the nature of total truth, which includes paradox, and a phase, almost scientific method for guiding people and himself towards a state beyond those phases.
It brings us to a final kind of challenging thought, though, doesn't it? It circles back to that danger of conditional truth.
Yes. According to these sources, one of the biggest challenges for someone who has supposedly reached enlightenment is that the absolute complete truth can actually be harmful if given to someone who isn't ready for it.
How so?
Well, it gives the example. If a master says meditation is useless, that statement might be perfectly true for someone who has meditated deeply for years and is now ready to drop the technique itself.
Okay, for them, it's the next step.
Right. But imagine saying that same thing, meditation is useless, just randomly in the marketplace, to someone who's never even tried it.
Oh, that would be dangerous. They'd just get an excuse not to bother, right?
Exactly. They get a high-sounding justification for inertia. So the speaker has to constantly gauge the listener and adjust the truth accordingly.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a really potent question, doesn't it? If you were there, in that live, dynamic conversation, receiving this wisdom,
Would you have the discernment? Would you be able to tell which version of the truth was being offered? The conditional one meant for your specific place on the path, or the absolute one that might apply later, or maybe not at all?
the sources seem to place that responsibility squarely on the seeker. It's up to you to figure out where you stand.
Keep walking your path, keep testing, keep discerning. That seems to be the underlying message.